Hi guys, and welcome back to Almost a Cinephile. My name is Becca. If you've not been here before, on this channel we love to talk about all things cinema, movies and physical media. If that sounds like your jam, then give this video a like and you can subscribe down below. Today I'm going to be going over my September recap and all the films I watched during the month. So this month, I think I didn't do that well, I'm not gonna lie. So I watched 6 films in total and one was a rewatch. So September was a funny month for me, personally. So that's probably why films were kind of pushed to the sideline, and it has absolutely nothing to do with watching the new episodes of Married at First Sight UK. We managed to do 6 this month and I'm going to talk about them. So the first film I watched this September was The Iron Claw. This is an A24 film starring Zac Efron. I know I'm a little bit late to the party on this one. It's been on my watch list for the majority of this year, but I've not been getting around to doing as well as I should be. And this film follows a group of brothers who are very prominent in the wrestling world, and their dad, and the relationship between the dad and the brothers. I think there's like 5 brothers or 4 brothers, and it's very much about like family dynamics and building yourself a career and being, you know, having a very pushy parent in the background trying to get you to almost do what he couldn't kind of thing, which was what we were seeing unravel within the family, and it leads to some really sad and gut-wrenching moments. I cried at the end. I felt like it was incredibly, it wasn't what I thought it was going to be. I felt like it was going to be a lot more darker, maybe a lot more based on the relationship between the dad and the sons, and whilst it definitely did take that time, it wasn't all about just that. It was much more focused on the brothers themselves individually. And as I said, it's incredibly sad. I'm not going to spoil it for anybody, but if you are particularly struggling with anything to do with like mental health or grief or anything like that, I would maybe save this for another day, but it is very good. I would definitely recommend it. The second film I watched was a rewatch for me, and that was Prometheus. I actually watched my own copy, and I feel like it's really important at the moment when talking about films that we watch to actually mention whether or not they're from our own collections or we're streaming still. This is my copy of Prometheus. And I watched this version. I wanted to A, make sure the DVD worked, because when you're buying secondhand, you never know. And B, I think it's really important to actually watch what you have. I feel like Prometheus and Covenant and all the other Alien franchise are only exclusive to Disney Plus, so I don't have any access to be able to get to them anyway. So the only way I can watch them now is through my collection. So I watched my version of Prometheus. And I think this was around the time or around the end of the kind of hype of Alien Romulus, which I'm still yet to watch. That's on my watch list, absolutely. I'm hoping this month I'm going to get round to it. But it was kind of around the end of the hype of that. A lot of people were saying that Romulus is very much back to Ridley Scott's roots. I know he didn't direct this new one, but it's definitely an homage to Ridley Scott's first Alien. And I feel like it was definitely a little bit of a steering away from Prometheus and Covenant and the direction that Ridley Scott was trying to take it to, which again, I think would have been really interesting. I'm not one of those people that really is like, oh, I only like Alien, or I only like Prometheus, or I hate Alien 3. I like all of them. I think they have all very interesting and different aspects that they bring to the franchise. I've never seen Alien vs Predator 2 Requiem. That's the only one I've not seen for the whole franchise itself. So I've definitely been like a massive Alien fan from the very beginning, since my mum first showed me the films. So I know Romulus was meant to take it back to what Ridley Scott originally did and take it more away from more of what Prometheus was exploring, but I wanted to rewatch Prometheus and give it another go because a lot of people shit on it, and I actually really like Alien Prometheus. I really like Prometheus. I really was interested in where Ridley Scott was going, and I know Covenant was a bit more of a fan. It was more to appease fans when he turned a little bit back on himself. I would have loved for Ridley Scott to explore it a little bit more, especially with like the engineers and how they created people and in the end, sorry, they created the xenomorphs as well. I would have loved for that to be explored more, but it never happened, which is very sad. But I am one of those people that loves Prometheus, so I really wanted to give it a rewatch, and I really enjoyed it. The same as always. The cast is really strong. And yeah, there are a few stupid things like Charlize Theron running in the exact direction of the ship falling on her rather than just, you know, moving to the side. Things like that are a little bit, okay. But I really liked the different aspects. It wasn't all like alien centric. You had like the black goo. I wanted to know more about that. I wanted to know what it was, because there's still things in Prometheus I feel like I don't really understand, and I feel like the more I watch it, a few more layers are peeled back, and I quite like that about a film. And I really wish that Ridley Scott would have continued that kind of newer franchise, like a little branch away from the xenomorphs, and branched off of that to go in a different direction and show us a bit more of this whole universe that doesn't need to just center around the alien itself. So I would definitely give Prometheus a watch if you haven't watched it before. It's definitely a really good space movie. Ridley Scott does great movies based in space. I love Prometheus. I've not seen Covenant, so I don't know like if that is a good sequel to Prometheus or whether it kind of lets the whole thing down again. As I said, I have heard that it does go in a different direction to what he originally was thinking, but I really want to give that one a watch as well. So the next film I watched was Smile. A little bit of Smile did get ruined for me, but I wanted to give it a go anyway, and this stars I think like Kevin Bacon's daughter, and Smile 2 is coming out very soon, so I wanted to watch Smile and see what all the hype was. It was a very hyped film. And I really enjoyed it. It definitely kind of goes deeper into more of a mental health direction, as well as the horror elements. The smiling was really creepy. I found that really entertaining and really interesting to watch, and that freaked me out. There were things where it got a little bit muddy knowing what was going on, like as in when we weren't sure whether things were actually being done by her or somebody else or what was going on. It got a little bit unclear in some parts of the film. But overall, like, it was a really enjoyable experience. I really liked the ending. That was super creepy. I kind of wish that monster was something that you saw more often. I mean, I know that maybe makes it not as scary because the scariness is not knowing what's coming after her. So I kind of get that point. But there's a lot of me that kind of thinks I wish we saw more of that, like, horrific, open-mouthed creature that was engulfing her at the end. So yeah, I really like Smile. It's been out for quite a long time now, so I know that most people have probably watched it, especially in the horror community, but I hadn't given it a go yet, and I wouldn't say it was particularly scary. There was a lot of jump scares, there was a lot of breaking glasses. I swear to God, if she broke one more glass. And even the character in the film, even her like fiance or boyfriend in the film was like, how many glasses have you broken already? And even I was like, too many. Why do we need all the jump scares to be based around dropping a glass or a cat or something like that? It got a little bit tropey in that sense, but overall it was a really good film. I also watched Speak No Evil, which is a new release. I actually went to see that one in theatre, and it was a really good, very intense, very uncomfortable film. If you want to see my full review, I will link it below and in the cards at the top. But it was incredibly creepy. Oh, it just made you feel incredibly like, oh, cringe and uncomfortable. And James McAvoy did spectacularly well in that role. I really loved him and enjoyed watching him as this really unhinged person that made people feel on purposefully uncomfortable, and watching this family appease to it because they wanted to be, you know, the perfect family, and they wanted to be polite and have morals and not kind of overstep their boundaries. They wanted to make sure that they were doing the right thing, rather than listening to their inner intuition, which they should have probably done a little bit earlier on. So yeah, I absolutely loved Speak No Evil. I thought the cast was really great, it was really strong. The third act did start to go a little bit more into like, have I seen this before? But the first 2/3 of the film were absolutely, I loved it. I absolutely loved it. I loved feeling like I was sweating and wanting to like duck under the seats because I just couldn't watch the dynamics between both families carry on, because it was that horrible to have to like watch it constantly. So yeah, I really absolutely loved Speak No Evil. Another film I watched in the more horror genre was MaxXxine. Again, another film I did a review on. If you wanted to watch that, again, I'll link it below or up at the top. And MaxXxine was definitely something that left me a little bit lukewarm. We are following her on from the film X. We're following MaxXxine, the character, after her run-ins with Pearl, which is also explored in the film Pearl. And we're watching her build her career as a movie star, which is what she wants to do. The film gave it away from the beginning who the killer was in the end. I felt like MaxXxine didn't really have that MaxXxine aura about her. There were little moments where it came back and then she kind of went back into herself a little bit more. So for a character, she was very subdued and not very how I thought they would bring that character forward in her journey and what we were obviously watching. I didn't 100% love the film. It wasn't a bad film. It wasn't an awful film. I've seen way worse. But it did leave me thinking like I wanted so much more, especially because X was so strong and I know people really loved Pearl as well. I was hoping it would finish out in a really good, wacky way, and it just went exactly the way I already thought it was going to. And I don't like knowing what's going to happen in a film after the first 5 minutes of watching it, because I've already kind of spoiled it for myself by watching what they've given me, which is spoil it in general. So the whole film kind of spoiled itself a little bit, but in general it was an okay film. It was a good watch. Mia Goth is always great in every performance that she does, and Kevin Bacon was amazing in this as well. I just wish it was just they took it a little bit further. And the last film I watched was Oddity. I feel like this was like an Irish-made movie that was featured a lot in some of the festivals, the film festivals that happened this year. So it wasn't as well known or heavily advertised. I watched a very brief review with no spoilers in it from one of the content creators I really enjoy. And she said that it was the scariest film she'd seen all year, even after Longlegs, which has been deemed as the scariest film this year. I've yet to see Longlegs. It's definitely on my list. But I wanted to give it a go and just see what it was all about. And so I went into this completely blind, apart from that very quick review that I watched. And actually, I really, really liked it. There were a lot of moments where I was looking over there, or I was just on my phone, or I was just like, no. This film is about two sisters, and one of them is a clairvoyant, or she's a lot more in tune with otherworldly things. I would say clairvoyant because it makes it a little bit easier to describe. And she's trying to work out why her sister died, or who killed her sister and why. It happens within like the first 10 minutes of the film, so I don't feel like I'm spoiling it for anybody, but the sister dies at the very beginning, and you feel like you're going to be with this character for like the whole film, and then she's very quickly killed off. And you feel like it's going to go in one direction and it goes in a completely different one. I really loved the strength of all the characters. I feel like I'm not sure if the actress played both twins, because they looked slightly different with the hair colour and stuff, but they had exactly the same face, so it may have been the same actress. But it was really, really good. It was very dark. It was a lot of dark settings, a lot of like, did I see something, did I not? It was a lot of shots that were holding on a space, an empty space, or a dark kind of doorway, or a dark outside scene, and it would hold with no music, nothing, just pure silence for ages. And it's that like, it makes you start like, oh, am I seeing things? Like, and you're kind of like, the longer it holds, the more you want to hide yourself. And it was, yeah, that to me is really scary, is when they leave you with nothing and everything at the same time. They've left you with a very blank shot, just a doorway in darkness and no music, and they're holding and holding and holding, and you're like, the feelings it's making you feel is purely organic from just looking at it, and it just makes you feel the discomfort like ramps up by 100, and the more you think about it, the more you're like, oh my god, I can't, because something is going to come out, and it doesn't, and it holds that pressure that you're building in yourself, very similar to Hereditary. throughout the whole film, so you're at like a higher level of like anxiety as you're watching what's unfolding. There was a few twists and turns that I didn't expect, which I really enjoyed, and a very, very satisfying ending, as I do say so myself. A very satisfying ending, and I loved that I kind of guessed what would be the ending a couple of seconds before it happened, but it was like, yeah, absolutely, like, ugh, please do the thing. And he did, and it was like, yes, because the guy was a dick. He was horrible, and it was strange because like, you really thought that he was the good guy in the whole way through, and he really wasn't in the end. So that was really interesting as well. The dynamics in general were really interesting, and I felt very, very frightened a few times. Would I say it's the scariest film I've ever seen? No. Hereditary is still the absolute scariest thing I feel like I've ever seen. That made me afraid of the dark for weeks, and I'm not someone that really gets easily scared. I'm quite like, I can leave it at the door. I can leave it, you know, once the film's switched off, I'm fine. But Hereditary absolutely shit me up for weeks. So did it do the same thing? No. But it did have elements and flavours of that kind of genre that really appealed to me, the thing I kind of really love the most. So in terms of like a paranormal horror, it did very, very well, and I really, really enjoyed it. So those are the 6 films I watched this month. Tell me below what you guys watched this month, anything worth checking out. I'm hoping to have a bigger list this October to watch a few more films. Obviously some spooky stuff. Hopefully some really autumnal films. I just found You've Got Mail, so in my next haul I will be talking about this a little bit more. But literally, like, I feel like it's a Meg Ryan autumn coming my way. So I've definitely got that on the top of my list. I might actually watch that tonight. So any recommendations, please put them down below. Any of your favourite horror movies or any of your favourite October films, please put them down below. I will take some recommendations because I love watching anything that somebody kind of comes to me with, good or bad. I'll check it out. Let me know below, and that'd be amazing. And I hope you guys have a wonderful October, and I will see you in the next video. Thank you so much. Bye.